Hey, for some of you are excited right now with all this information, and some of you might be overwhelmed. Look, this is a comprehensive, well, as comprehensive as it can be in 4 hours. Obviously, it's not really comprehensive, but it's a somewhat detailed download of everything. Well, not everything, of a lot of things I think you need to know in order to actually do this and do it successfully. I'm interested in working with people who take liberation and awakening seriously as real possibilities in your life, in the scope of the next few years, because it is a real possibility. And in my view, the world of modern yoga does people a great disservice by not communicating to them that it is a real possibility. Now, that's perfectly understandable because most of the people teaching yoga are not experiencing this. We're not experiencing liberation and awakening in this full sense. So, of course, they're not going to kind of put it out there as a viable possibility. So, it'd be nice if, as the people get more full access to the richness of the original tradition, there is gonna be more kind of awakening going on, and we can kind of let people know that this is a real possibility, that if they want to do yoga just to have a nice butt, that is absolutely fine. There's no problem or judgment around that. Like, go to the studio that's going to give you the practice that's going to give you the abs and the butt. And if they want spiritual awakening through their yoga, they should have access to that. I would like them to have access to that as well, to have access to the full range, from nice abs to total liberation. That, all of those goals are valid, and the tools are there, and let's just educate these communities so that they're available to people, and that they're encouraged to pursue what their heart really longs for. Okay, that was my momentary aside diatribe. Let's return to the reasons, and these 7 are pretty comprehensive, I would say. If you address these 7 things, you're going to be soaring in your spiritual practice. You're going to be just like rocket fuel, it'll feel like. There's such a huge difference. You can't imagine. If you address even 5 out of these 7 things, your practice just takes off. Okay. Number 4, impure motive versus pure motive. Now, don't get hung up on the words impure and pure. That just means ineffective and effective motives. The impure motive is just an ineffective motive. It's one that won't work. It's not impure in the sense of sinful or bad or wrong. It's impure in the sense of it is flawed. It will not work. Okay? It will not lead to liberation / awakening. So there are 3 aspects to the impure motive. The first is, as it says there, doing your practice with a vision of yourself as broken, wrong, or bad, and seeing your practice as a means to fix the broken self. So most people start with this impure motive, and that's fine. Of course, everyone starts with impure motive. Nobody starts with pure motive except some, very rare, Buddha baby or something. But everyone starts with impure motive, so that's fine. It's just a matter of identifying why it doesn't work and then letting it go and acquiring pure motive. So, as I said before, if you think there's something wrong with you as you are, and you're doing yoga or any spiritual practice to fix that problem, then you are doing it on the basis of a story or a view that isn't true, and therefore the practice can't activate its full power, because the reason for which you're doing it is out of alignment with reality. So, because there isn't anything wrong with you, you see. There never was anything wrong with you except your belief that there's something wrong with you. Now, I'm talking about, you have to look into the subtle, into your subconscious a little bit here, because you might not realize that you're holding this view of yourself. You might not realize until you really take a good, clear look at it. Am I doing yoga to fix the broken self? Am I hoping that I'll become a better person and then people will love me and then I'll love myself because I'll be lovable, whereas before I wasn't. That motive is not going to work. It's going to generate some energy. It's going to do a little something for you, but it's not going to actualize the full fruit of the practice, not even close. So this is participating in the religious discourse, because religions tell you, 1, there's something wrong with you. 2, we have the answer. That's what all religions say, right? But we're interested in spiritual practice, not religion in this particular paradigm. Okay, spiritual practice can happen within religion, by the way, within the context of religion, or not. It doesn't matter wherever you want to be doing it. You know, you want to belong to a church or an ashram, fine, or not. But you can be doing spiritual practice within the context of religion, but it's not necessarily the case that you are. So if you're buying into that whole dialogue of there's something wrong with you, here's the way to fix it, even just subconsciously, you know, it's not gonna be effective. So the antidote to that is the cultivation of the view. There's nothing wrong with me. There's something right with me as I am. My essence nature is already perfectly divine. I'm just doing this practice in order to reveal that more fully, in order to experience it more fully. Okay, impure motive number 2 is doing the practice to get high, to attain blissful states, to attain higher states of consciousness, to get off, basically, in increasingly subtle ways that, you know, it's such a subtle form of getting off that you can look down on other people who are addicted to sense pleasures. But in fact, you are similarly addicted. You just have a more refined object of addiction, which doesn't make it better. So is your spiritual practice in pursuit of, you know, some higher state of consciousness, which will make you special or superior to or stand above in some way ordinary human folk? Do you want to essentially become a god or a titan with your practice? Now, I'm giving the very kind of heavy-handed articulation to it. In you, it might be much, much more subtle. It might be a subtle grasping after, you know, oh gosh, that felt so good, that meditation I had, I'm going to meditate again and hope to feel good like that again. As soon as you're grasping after experience, you're not open to what is. If you're not open to what is, you're already off track. You're not doing the real practice. So spiritual materialism, the second bullet point, you know, it's what it's about, is collecting peak experiences, as it were. That's not going to work to actualize the fruit, because awakening is about awakening to love for reality as it is, not as you want it to be, right? It's about letting go of your attempt to manipulate your experience and letting yourself fall in love with the natural flow of life and what life wants to do through you, right? And, you know, there's nothing wrong with having what you enjoy. That's not what we're talking about, right? That instead, if your spiritual practice is aimed at pleasure rather than truth, feeling good rather than knowing the truth, it will not take you all the way. So most people who are doing yoga who are not in impure motive number 1 are in impure motive number 2. California yoga, you know, it's all about feeling good. I do yoga to feel good. What's wrong with that? Absolutely nothing, unless you want liberation, awakening. If you want the goal that's posited by the original tradition, then you have to sacrifice your desire for feeling good on the altar of truth. So that means that you learn to want the truth more than you want to feel good. Now, ironically, knowing the truth of your own being will lead to more bliss than you've ever felt, but that can't be the reason you're doing it, or you're constantly kind of pushing it away. It's like the carrot on the stick in front of the donkey is chasing it forever. Very simply, you have to want to know the truth more than you want to feel good. And you might not be able to access that yet. You might say, I can't want the truth more than I want to feel good. Fine, just keep practicing, and sooner or later, you will. You will want the truth more than anything else, because you'll realize that feeling good is a temporary state, and it's ultimately unsatisfying compared to knowing the truth of your own being. Experiencing the truth of your own being is what I mean by knowing. Okay. So everyone has impure motive until they get to pure motive. That's just the way it goes. So it's fine to have impure motive, right? I have to reassure people over and over again, this tradition has no judgment of you where you are. It's just offering an invitation and telling you what's necessary if you want the big enchilada, as it were. Or the whole enchilada, the big kahuna, I don't know. Third impure motive, to acquire power over others, doing your practice to become magnificent in such a way that other people will recognize and acknowledge your magnificence. Yeah, I won't waste any breath on that one, but it is. I mean, we do see it. Unfortunately, we see it most among big yoga teachers. Anyway, not all. I'm not pointing any fingers or anything. Plenty of yoga teachers with total integrity around. Not as many as we would like, but plenty. Okay. So then what's pure motive? Pure motive is the antidote to all three of the impure motives. It is walking the path out of love for yourself as an expression of your true nature for the benefit of all beings. So those three phrases antidote the three pure motives. Do you see that? Walking the path out of love for yourself, not hatred for yourself. It's not there's something wrong with you. It's that you love yourself enough to want to unfold all that is within you, to want to access and express your essence nature as an act of love. That's pure motive. Doing this practice, walking this path out of love for yourself as an expression of your true nature, as opposed to grasping after pleasure, higher states of consciousness, etc. Just because it's your nature to do so. That's why you walk the path. And instead of power over others, of charismatic or any other kind of power, it's to benefit all beings. Now, most people, upon hearing this teaching, do not already have pure motive. So what do? You, to put it bluntly, pray. May I have the pure motive. Every single time you practice, every single time you come to your cushion, every single time you come to your mat, every time you practice with someone or alone, may I have the pure motive. May I walk the path out of love for myself as an expression of my true nature for the benefit of all beings. And, of course, recast that into language that makes sense for you. If this language isn't fully resonant, tweak it. Like, what's your expression of the pure motive? You have to pray for it usually before it starts to show up. When pure motive shows up, your practice takes off like you can't believe. Really big difference to the effectiveness of meditation, of mantra, of all the practices. So I'm, kind of running out of time, and these points cannot be covered in depth in this short course. That's why I do an immersion program. For people who are interested in that, the next one starts in March. So it's great to do the immersion in such a way that you're really devoting yourself to the process, and you're not doing a bunch of other things at the same time. So starting in March means you have time to kind of organize your life to really give yourself to the spiritual process for a few months. A few months. That's nothing compared to your whole life. Can you imagine doing something for a few months that resonates for decades to come, that changes the course of your life? That's not that great of a sacrifice, is it? So the reason I mentioned the immersion is because that's where we explore this practice that helps to alleviate or even dissolve heavy family karma. Number 5, sometimes you're in a family where some pretty heavy shit has been passed down from generation to generation, some pretty heavy trauma and pain and abuse. And that can be a kind of obstacle on your path. It can be a big burden. And so there's specific practices that the tradition developed to clear that and to release that and to move that, so that what your ancestors did and your parents and grandparents for the last 10 generations doesn't have to prevent you from waking up to your essence nature for their benefit, for the benefit of all beings, as well as you, beginning with you. Number 6, and this is also addressed, in my immersion program and in many other teachers' programs as well. Lack of support from community is a big reason the practice doesn't work. If you're just kind of trying to do this on your own out there, hey, people have done it and they do it. There are those who completely wake up out of their conditioning and become free on their own, but it's relatively rare, to have the support of community in some way or another is really helpful. Kula in the Shaiva Tantric tradition, it's called Kula. In the Buddhist, it's of course called Sangha, spiritual community. Number 7, and this is the subject of a whole long workshop. Your spiritual practice can get hijacked by a realm fixation. So this terminology comes from Tantric psychology. Tantric psychology is expressed in a teaching called the 6 realms. And the 6 realms are 6 states of mind which lead us away from our essence nature and into delusion. So if your practice can, and sort of inevitably will, get hijacked by a realm fixation, and if it's a minor hijack, you can sort of correct it with a little feedback from teachers and friends, even if you don't know the realm teachings. But the realm teachings are helpful to identify these fixations which lead us astray, and if uncorrected, can sometimes, in some people, lead into a state of delusion so deep that the person does not escape from it in this lifetime, which is sad, but it's not the end of the world. Everyone has a chance to see through their delusion upon exiting the physical body. It's a golden opportunity, in fact. And if you can see through your delusion in that moment, then you won't continue in it in your next situation.